What's up, guys? We are back, episode number 11 here. Still active show. How are we doing? How are we feeling?
Let's go. Let's
Back
go.
to it. It's been a little bit since we had a podcast, and we're finally back. And today we actually have a very exciting guest, marketing and media director over at Easton Training Center, coach, competitor, all around good guy. How we doing?
What's up, everybody?
What
Hell
up?
yeah. How we doing, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm pumped to be here. I was excited that you guys invited me.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're doing a bunch of stuff, so excited to hear about it.
Hell yeah.
To kick it off, where are you originally from? I know you're out in Denver now, but
Yeah, I'm from Iowa. So I grew up in Iowa. I didn't move out to Colorado until I was 27. So spent my entire life in Iowa, did my undergraduate degree there. And then when my wife now got accepted into graduate school at CU, we moved out to Boulder.
nice. That's a nice area.
Oh, dude, Boulder is super nice. Super nice. We're in Longmont now, but we miss Boulder.
Yeah, they got everything over there.
It's a super good like mixture. It has like all the amenities you want living in a city, but then you have like the mountains right there. It's beautiful.
Yes, sir. When did you get started with Easton?
So when I moved out here, I was already a blue belt. I'd been training for a little bit over 2 years. And so as soon as I got here, I was already looking for a new place to train. I looked at a couple different places. I did the club at CU for like a month and a half. And so we got here mid-August, and like mid-September, I joined Easton.
What year was that?
2018.
2018. When did Easton have they've been going for years, right?
Yeah, I think I want to get this right. It's been since 98 is when a mall opened the first school in Boulder. So 20, almost 6 years.
Hell yeah. And you said you're a blue belt. Just to clarify, that's in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, I was a blue belt. Yeah, when I moved out here, I was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu blue belt. I'm a purple belt now, but
Hell yeah. Climbing the ranks, bro.
yeah, well, I've been a purple belt for 4 years almost. So we're no longer climbing so much as just staying like right at where we were.
Yeah. Did you compete a lot? Like as you were kind of climbing those, beginner ranks?
Yeah, for sure. That was like my number one reasoning for joining martial arts was just like looking for something to kind of feed like that competitive itch. When I was young, I competed. I played football for 4 years or 6 years rather. I wrestled for most of my young life, and so I didn't have that after I graduated high school, and that's something that like I was just missing. I was missing that aspect. I did a lot of things to stay fit, to stay in shape, but it just was always missing that like that call, right? Like why am I doing this? Eventually they're just staying in shape and like being strong. It's not a good enough reason, at least for me it wasn't. So I started looking for something to kind of feed that itch. And then I went to jujitsu, started competing super early. I think I was like a one stripe white belt when I first started competing. And all the way through like my blue belt time, it was super jujitsu focused. I did some MMA in that period of time too. I fought 3 times in MMA and then one in kickboxing. When I moved to Colorado, I was still super into competing, and it was cool because Colorado, like, we have a really established jujitsu scene, and so like if you want to compete, you could literally compete maybe every single weekend in a local tournament, every other weekend if it's like a slow season. So I started competing a lot. And then what year was it? Mid 2019, I got hurt. Like I hurt myself in a competition. I sprained my LCL, and just kind of in the time that it took me to get back to training, I started training Muay Thai more. Like I was already training Muay Thai, I was already doing striking, but it was not my focus at all. And then it just happened that with my injury, I couldn't like do jujitsu the way I could do Muay Thai. Like jujitsu was like still really affected by the way, like the range of motion in my knee. But with my injury, it just like Muay Thai was easier for me to do. I could do it without pain. And so I started doing it more often just so I could stay active. And that kind of slowly kind of shifted the tides. And now I'm much more of a Muay Thai athlete than I am jujitsu.
With the wrestling background you said you had, do you think that was like when you were looking for something to like compete in after like the high school and all that stuff, do you think that was mainly why you were looking for jiu-jitsu? Because
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And like growing up, like probably pretty early in high school, my friends and I just got into watching UFC. Like this was early days of what you would consider like the common era of UFC. And so we were super into it. We had our own little like off-season fight clubs where we do body shots and try to submit each other. So we were already like into it. And that's what like I was already interested in it. And then, wrestling had such a big impact on my life, and it was the grappling aspect that I really missed. So it was a really natural transition to go into jiu-jitsu.
do you think that like definitely helps like in the beginning of jiu-jitsu? I know it's obviously a lot different, but just like like you said, the grappling aspect of it and the contact and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, man. Like grappling is grappling. Like the goal of wrestling and jiu-jitsu is different, but it is still grappling. It is still like trying to move someone's body with my body. It's trying to prevent someone from moving me. So, if someone's good at wrestling on day one in jiu-jitsu, they're already going to be a problem. Like you might catch them with submissions a lot because they don't know the submissions, but sweeping someone who's good at wrestling, getting on top of them, these things are like super hard. At Longmont, we have this guy. He wrestled at Harvard for 4 years, and he just got his blue belt recently, but he is a motherfucker to deal with. Like he doesn't even know that much jujitsu, but if he gets on top of you, you're just stuck. So it helps a lot.
Especially with the stand-up, I feel like day one, like it's hard to take them down, or like they're sweeping you even. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's knowing how to knowing how to move someone's body and move your own body. Like it is a skill that takes time, and you can learn it through jujitsu, but it's still going to take the same amount of time. Like if it's 6 years, if it's 8 years, whatever it is, like you slowly get the instinct for it. But if you come in with that experience already in wrestling, like the instinct's already there.
Yeah. What would you say are like? What would you consider like the most complementary fighting sports to jiu-jitsu?
Oh man, that's a great question. Um, so by that you mean like full fighting?
Yeah, I mean like judo, karate,
Okay,
Muay Thai.
it's definitely wrestling is number one. Um, that wrestling base will get you so far. Judo can be helpful, especially if you're into gi jujitsu. You're in a gi and judo. A lot of the stand up can be really similar, and they even have like submission moves in judo. But man, I've trained with judo black belts. I trained with people who wrestled their whole life, and I would much prefer to train with someone who does know what they're doing with a judo black belt than a wrestling like background, because the wrestling just feeds into it. And you see it in MMA too. Like that wrestling base is one of the strongest bases you can have.
Hell yeah. And you coach as well. When did you begin that kind of path?
Yeah, man. So coaching has always been, just being an athlete growing up, like the coaches have such a big impact on you especially when you're young, like you're developing, you're trying to figure out how to be just a human being. And your coaches have a lot of like influence on how you end up. So I've been lucky. Like I feel like I ended up well, but without coaches, I wouldn't have. And so that was always something that called to me. Like, I don't need to be like, I don't need to preach to people. I don't need to like tell people how to live their lives. But if I can positively influence someone through like sharing martial arts, like, or whatever it is, that's something that is meaningful to me. And so when I started coaching, it really coincided at Easton with my injury. I got injured, like I said, in jiu-jitsu. I started training Muay Thai a lot more. And then that kind of got me close with the GM in Boulder. His name's Matt Bloss. He's one of the top Muay Thai coaches in Boulder. And the closer I got with him, I kept taking his class. I just loved his classes. We had so much fun together. And they put out a call for coaches in like, I want to say it was like a September of 2019. And I was like, fuck yeah, like this is what I'm looking for, right? And I was looking for more opportunities at Easton anyway, so I jumped on it right away. And man, I feel like without that injury in jiu-jitsu, I was like on the jiu-jitsu path. Like I wouldn't have been a good candidate for like a Muay Thai coach. But when I got that call and then I got added to the coaching ranks, I was like, okay, I got to get way better in Muay Thai. And that just like put me on the path of fighting. It put me on the path of just like being much more heavily slanted toward Muay Thai in my training.
Hey man, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, dude. I think
You
about it
know?
all the time. My current job wouldn't have happened without that. So, yeah, for sure.
So, what would you say that the most difficult aspect of coaching is for you? Like something that you may encounter often or once in a while, but either way.
Man, I think the hardest thing is when people when they're hard to coach. Like that's what it comes down to. Like, and not hard to coach like you're struggling to pick up the technique. It's more like you are not interested in being corrected. You're not interested in like taking in whatever advice I have for you. And some people, man, they come in, they have experience, and maybe I'm not going to teach you everything you need to know, but I might be able to see one thing that you're doing that you could fix. And some people just have a bad attitude about it. I kind of like one thing at Easton is like those people with bad attitudes, they generally don't stay too long. So it's not something I have to deal with very often. But man, when someone comes in and they're just not interested in being coaching or being coached, it's like, why the fuck are you here? Like
Right. Yeah.
you
Really.
could just do this in your garage. You could go hang out with some friends. So that's probably the hardest part about coaching for me.
Word. Yeah. That's pretty. Yeah. I can see that for sure. That's really with anything, though. You know what I mean? Like, not even just this particular, subject. I mean, anything. You got to be coachable. And, like, it comes down. I always, like, go back to this, like, quote I saw as a kid. It was like, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
you got to be open to that shit, or else you're just going to stay at the same spot forever.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
And even like with the mindset of like you can learn something from anyone, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter how small or big, like it could just be that one thing, that one detail, you know what I mean?
I completely agree. That's with martial arts, like it's not always there, but for the most part, like people will approach it with that mentality that you can learn something from anybody. Even if you're a black belt, you've been doing this for 15 years, man, there might be a white belt with just like a unique background. Maybe they came from wrestling, maybe whatever it is, but they might have like just one little thing that they've noticed or one little nugget they can share that like you can add. There's no one who can't like give you something. And so you should always be open to give them something as well and open to taking advice.
And that's a big thing with like why I love watching the UFC too, is because like these guys are extremely high level. They all have different backgrounds, and like that's why the competitions are so great because you really never know. Like you could just get caught, like it doesn't like one person could be a brown belt in jujitsu, another could have a boxing background, and then you just get to watch them coincide and just go at it, and you never know the result.
Yeah, MMA that's what makes it so crazy. It's what makes it so exciting too. Just like the unpredictability and the variables, like you said, like you coming from a different discipline than someone else, like it might seem like your discipline gives you the advantage, but when things start happening at that speed, like it's that's it's exciting. It's fun.
Big time. Going back to the coaching stuff, would you say like the people that are hardest to coach are usually coming from like they already have a background in it, or is it just people that are kind of closed-minded or just
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I personally find like people who come in with a background, they end up being more coachable generally. Because usually, like if you've been doing this for 2 or 3 years, it's because you haven't run into you haven't like had that attitude where like, oh, you can't tell me anything, like you don't know what you're talking about. Because again, like it's not just Easton, like that doesn't really fly in a lot of martial arts schools, and some people, some coaches will just beat you up, if that's your attitude. So I don't think it's not as tied to experience. It is really is a personality thing. And those people, they probably haven't been coachable their entire life. It's not like, oh, I have this much experience, I don't want to hear about it. It's like they're not taking in information from anybody who might be able to help them out.
yeah? Because I mean, growing up, any sport, like we were talking about, you have to be coachable, and you run into those people, in football, basketball, pretty much any sport. But yeah, I could see it, just kind of being a personality thing. But I feel like the people who are in those sports, and if you do reach a high level at any degree, you are normally coachable, because I mean, how else did you get there?
That's exactly it. Like, even if you're not coachable now, you were at some point to be able to take in enough information, become proficient.
True. And then yeah, I mean, you also compete. You recently just had a fight, I believe it was like what, February like 3rd or something like that. Yeah,
Nice
February
memory.
3rd. Heck yeah. How was that? How was the preparation for that? What was the hardest, like, challenge you faced throughout
Mm,
that, like, camp? Because
mm. It's a great question, man. I mean, preparation, we'll start with that. Preparation is like the hardest part, but also to me, it's like my favorite part. Like I'm always looking to optimize like something in my training that I didn't do in the last camp. Like even if I have a great fight, like I still know that in preparation I can do something a little bit better. So what was it this time? I added stretching like every morning and every night. Like I would do stretching and mobility work, and that was like huge for me. It made it so I didn't have to wake up sore every day, which like you're banging every single day. You're banging your body into something for 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours in a day. You're gonna be sore. You're gonna be really, really tired and exhausted. So like dialing in the diet, dialing in like every little aspect that can help you feel better that so that you can train hard the next day, that's huge. And so for me that was the biggest thing. My preparation was super strong for this one. I felt like everything went well. The hardest part was like fighting over the holidays, right? So like my camp started in the first week of December. So like, skipping Christmas with my family, skipping New Year's, and being here to train. Like usually my wife and I go back to Iowa, spend about a week there, seeing both of our families because we're both from Iowa. And so I just stayed here, trained every day for the most part over that period of time, and that was probably the hardest. Unfortunately, like my grandma passed away shortly after that, so I like skipped that opportunity to go see her. And so that like weighed heavy on me going into the fight because she passed away like maybe 2 weeks before the fight. And so like I'm like fuck, like I thought I was gonna go. Yeah, I thought like literally after my fight, I flew to Iowa the next day because I'd already planned that. I was already planning to go back and see everybody to kind of make up for missing the holidays. And so that happened. Now I'm flying back for a funeral instead of getting to see my family. So that just missing the holidays was hard, and then that added on top of it, like it I don't want to say it put pressure on me, but I did feel like I have to make this worth it. Like I have to make like this sacrifice I made worth it. And I hate I hate trying to put like a value on fighting, like based on the win or the loss, right? Like the outcome of the fight is not ultimately where the value of the experience is. But I did have like a little bit of pressure. Like I didn't want to go in, perform badly, and then just think about like everything I gave up to put in a bad performance. So like for me, it was like, man, I just want to put together the best performance I've ever had. And I think I did. And I won the fight. So that was great. Uh, 9-minute fight. That was my first like 3-minute round fight since my MMA days. In all my MMA fights, like I finished them in the first round. So like I never really had 3-minute round fights that I went all the way through. So we had 3-minute rounds, no shin guards, no headgear. And you're throwing leg kicks and body kicks at each other with no shin guards on. Like it's like throwing a baseball bat at someone, like, especially when you're at my size. Like you can throw the fuck out of your legs. And so I was really able to like do a lot of damage with my legs, didn't take very much damage. So yeah, like overall, it was a great experience. Like it felt so good to go in there. The weight cut was, near perfect. So yeah, I was pumped about it.
What weight did you fight at?
168.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have like individual coaches for like every aspect of it, or did you kind of take it in your own hands?
Man, it's kind of a balance. Like I have a strength and conditioning coach, and so he's worked with fighters in the past, and so I use him for all my like. I don't even want to call it strength work because we're not even lifting that much. Like we're doing like plyometrics and ladders, and yes, we lift, but he's really like my athleticism coach, like helping me maximize my athletic abilities and develop some that are maybe underdeveloped. So I trust him for all that. I do most of my conditioning on my own. Like obviously like every practice has like a conditioning aspect to it. But I will do all my running and sprinting and all that stuff. Like I program that. I'll talk to my strength and conditioning coach about diet, but ultimately I'm the one who picks my calories, picks what I eat every day. And then I have my coaches for like the Muay Thai aspect. So we work together. But being a coach on like for myself, right? And also coaching fighters myself, like I kind of work with them to develop a game plan. It's not like them exactly telling me like, hey, this is exactly what we're going to do. It's kind of like, okay, what do you think will work? They'll tell me what they think will work, and we kind of like work together to build a game plan. So it's a community that puts it together.
Hell yeah. I know you coach at the Easton Open, but like, have you coached any like individuals for their fights?
Yeah, man. I've done like obviously like not as much as my coaches, but I've coached 3 or 4, maybe 5 different people through fights. One of them, his name's Julian. He trains in Longmont. I've coached him for like 8 or 9 fights. So we've been together for a couple years. He's been super active in that time period. And then the Easton Open, like that's really those are good reps. I try to hand those off to the coaches in Longmont a little bit more these days, because I want to. A big like part of Easton is like bringing people up like beneath you, right? So like for the Open, like I do kind of lead the academy for the coaching, but I've been slowly handing it off more and more, giving more responsibility so that one day hopefully those coaches can corner like actual fights as well. But yeah, I've cornered a fair amount of like real fights.
How different is it, like, being in the corner versus, because obviously, you're all distraught and tired and you got the fatigue going and like, but you're also a coach. So like, you do know like certain shit you got to be doing, but
Yeah, bro. I will say coaching, especially at first, dude, so much more nerve wracking. It's like terrifying. Like you're standing there and like you're like on the floor, and then up on the ring is the person you're coaching. And you're like looking up there, and like you have no control of what's going to happen, and you just want the best for them, and you've put like a ton of effort into getting them there, and they have too. And it just like feels so far out of your control that like it's super nerve wracking. Whereas like when I get into the ring myself, like obviously I'm nervous, like just because it's a fight, and like you said before, even in Muay Thai, like anything can happen. You can get knocked out, you can break your leg. Same thing could happen to your opponent. So you have to be ready for all that. But it feels like it's in your control. You did all the training, where your head's at, where your technique's at. You're like, I can handle this. But when your fighter gets in the ring, it's like, fuck, let's go. You have the most confidence in them, but also like you feel like you have no control. So that can be, I know at first, like that was terrifying for me. I've gotten to the point where it's like, it's more or less like I'm pretty even keel for that situation now, but I still get nervous when I'm about to corner someone.
yeah, that's crazy, man.
It is, dude. Yeah.
So how many years have you been like coaching like in the ring like that?
So Julian would have been my first one if we're counting like real fights. And my first fight that I coached for him was 2022. So in 2022, he fought 8 times, and I cornered him for all of those. And then last year it was 4 times. So yeah, it's been a lot of experience in a short period of time. And I've cornered some other fighters in that period as well. So just like adding those, just stacking up the matches. It didn't take very long to get more fights in a corner than I actually had like fighting.
Is he the one preparing for a fight right now?
No, he's not preparing for a fight right now. Julian does special forces like contract work, so he's been out of the state for the past like month, like doing some selection, and so he balances that. Like he does 3-month deployments, and then he'll come back and be back for 6 months, and he'll try to get as many fights as he can in those 6 months, and then he'll be gone for 3 more months. So we don't have anybody from Longmont getting ready for fights, but we do have a bunch of fights for Easton coming up.
Hell yeah. And we got like, what is that tournament coming up in May?
So
The Denver Open.
we have we don't have any. We have the Denver Open for jiu-jitsu. So that's the IBJJF. This week we have the National Muay Thai qualifiers to try to qualify people for the national team. They'll fight in the World Championships in Greece in June. So we're sending 2 people to Delaware this week to fight for that. And then we also have a local show called 5280. We have a kid from Boulder on that this weekend. And then Sparta is coming up in April. Sparta is kind of like one of the bigger local shows around here. They have really good production value, put on great fights. They kind of do like one championship where you can go to a card and there'll be MMA, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, all on the same card. And so we have a big one coming up at the end of April for them, a couple of title fights for Easton. So a couple big things coming up.
That's sick, man.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. And you're also a creative as well. Big on the videography and media stuff. When did that kick off for you?
I mean, dude, I've been doing videos since I was in high school. I was a terrible student in high school. So like anytime we had a big project coming up, there was like a paper or a presentation, I would always try to bargain with my teacher. Like, can I just make a video instead? And, teachers were usually pretty happy to help. Like they'd be like, yeah, of course, make a video, man. Like get together with your friends and do something silly. And that's how I kind of got kicked off. And then same thing in college, like anytime I could do a video type project instead of an essay, like I was always bargaining with my professors. And then I probably started like, you would say like professionally doing things in like 2012. Like that's when I, got like access to like a DSLR camera, and I was actually like getting paid to do things. I was doing like a little bit more projects and, everything still sucked that I was doing. But now it's been 12 years of steady, like just doing video work, and more every single year to get to where I am now. So like I've been doing it for most of my life, but really in the past like 12 years, I've been like trying to be a professional about it.
Did you ever like dabble with the photos, or is it always strictly video for you?
I do photos too. I will say that like photos is much more of like, I have a lot less technical expertise when it comes to photography. So I'm just like doing them as like something I'm also doing it as well as shooting, but I'll even like when I do an Easton event, like I'll switch to photo mode and take photos sometimes when I feel like, we were at the Easton Open a couple weeks ago. Right. And like the kids competed for like 5 hours. So like after I filmed for 3 hours, like it will all look the same after that. Like there's no amount of kids footage that I can get that will make my video in the end better. So I'll maybe switch to photo mode and try to just do some cool stuff. I'll do that in the academies all the time too. Just to bring my camera in and just like, instead of doing video, I'll only take photos just to try to get better at it. I love doing photos, but it's never really been my focus.
Cool. And what camera do you shoot on now?
So my A camera right now is a 1DX Mark III, which I just upgraded to middle of last year. And it was nice. I just got like a bunch of freelance projects kind of came my way at once. It's like, oh, I actually have like a lot of extra money right now. And I've been eyeballing this camera for a while. To me, it's like the highest end camera I could get that still takes photos. Like I could have jumped to a cinema camera, but I do like just having the opportunity to do photos. So everything I do is mostly done on that now. And then I have a couple of these 5D Mark IVs, and that's what I've been working with for the past like four or 5 years. Like that, most things I've done on the Mark IV, and the 1DX is something I just like started with less than a year ago.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's a great upgrade. Is that what you upgraded from?
Yeah. And I still use the Mark IVs all the time. I have 2 of those. And so like anytime I go to like a big shoot where I need to have a 3 camera setup, or even like at the Open, like I have the 1DX, and then I have another videographer using one of the Mark IVs. And then I had our social media coordinator, Luma, just taking photos with the other Mark IV. So it's like, I use all these cameras still. The Mark IV makes such great footage.
That's sick. Hell yeah. Have you always been with Canon?
Yeah, I have. Like the first camera I ever had was like a Canon like a camcorder, and then it's like always been like it's always been Canon. I've used other things like I never owned a Sony, but I used a Sony A7S for a couple different shoots, and I really actually liked the Sony. It was great. But I've just been so comfortable with Canon, and like now I'm stuck because like I own so many Canon like accessories, like all my lenses, they're EF mount. It's just like such a pain in the ass to try to like switch your whole arsenal to go with something. So yeah, I've been mostly Canon for the entire time that I've been doing this. And like I said, now it's just a path for me.
Too far. Yeah. I wish they made it so, you could kind of bounce around and try different bodies, but they really do trap you, man.
They trap you. Yeah. I like the more investments you make into one brand, like the more stuck you are with them.
Big time. Yeah. It's crazy. I started on a Nikon. My sister kind of hooked me up with that, and then in college I got to dabble with the Canons a little bit, but like it wasn't my gear. I didn't, spend any money on it. I was kind of just renting it out, but
Mhm.
I loved it. And then I had the Nikon for my sister, but Nikon was kind of fading away. People kind of, trash on it a little bit. So I uh I was looking for a camera, like you said, that I could kind of do both on. So that's when I just kind of pulled trigger on the Sony, and now it's just too far. Just
Yeah. I've been there, man. The Sonys are great. Like really, like I loved taking photos with the Sony. Like it was such like a nice feeling, the way it like clicks and everything, and just like how quickly it like captures images. I really enjoyed using the Sony. If I changed, it would be to Sony.
yeah. I mean, I've wanted to make the switch to Canon, like the R5 or something like that, which is pretty similar to like the camera I have
Yeah.
right now, but like I said, too far gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been looking at those R5s too, but it's just like even that, like it's still Canon, but it's a different lens mount. So like all these, thousands and thousands of dollars of lens, I just have to like shelf those to switch to the mirrorless. So it's like, again, we're stuck with what we got.
Yeah. Tough to do, man.
Mm-hmm.
How many other gyms have you trained with throughout like your journey?
Just two, man, just Easton. And then I did have that like 1 month where I was at the CU a club at the school. But before that, I was at Des Moines Jiu-Jitsu Academy. That's where I started. In 2016, like early 2016, I started there. And, those are still my people. And that was like the hardest part about leaving Iowa was like, I grew up in Iowa. So all the people I knew, all my friends, all my family were there. I was only sad to leave because of like the school I was at. I was my last day training there. I remember like being in tears because like when you start training martial arts, like you get involved in the community and like there's something specific about martial arts that like makes you develop really close bonds with the people you train with, especially like when you're training day in and day out. Like the amount of trust you get, the conversations you have. So like it's a really probably my favorite part about martial arts is the communities that come out of it. And so leaving Des Moines Jiu-Jitsu Academy when I was coming to Colorado, like it was the only reason I wasn't excited to move here, and then finding Easton like early on, it was like, okay, cool, we're good, and now it's like, I've been here for almost 6 years and like all my friends, the only people I know here are from Easton. So like, it's really been like my whole ecosystem in Colorado.
Yeah, Easton does have the community and just how they put everything together, and I don't know, it's very special. Like I've gotten to train at a couple different gyms throughout, like back in New York, some in Florida, but just Easton does it different, man. Like the community's crazy, like the marketing's crazy, which that's a lot of businesses alone, lack that aspect, like the marketing, the media, like. But
Yeah,
Easton
man,
just kills it in every aspect.
I agree. I think, like I said, there's something very specific about martial arts, how it will develop a community. But Easton has like made the community like even stronger because we approached community as a product, right? Like it's not like you could train at one of 1,000 schools in Colorado if you want to do jujitsu, maybe a 200, 300 schools if you want to do Muay Thai. So it's like you could pick any one of these schools. Like how do we separate ourselves? Or like we look at our community as like this thing that it's like a garden. Like we have to put intention into growing and making this stronger. And so that's one thing I've really appreciated about like being at Easton. Even before I was like a coach and now a full-time employee, was like how strong the community was, and how much of a focus they put into it, and all those other things that you're talking about, like most martial arts schools are run by martial artists, and they started their school because they love martial arts and they want to share it and they want to have more training partners. But being a martial artist doesn't make you good at business, doesn't make you a smart marketer, it doesn't make you all these things. And some people will like learn those things as they go, but many people are only here for the martial arts. And that's a nice thing. At Easton, we have a balance. Like we have people who are only here to coach and to get better in martial arts, but then we have a lot of other people who maybe they don't train as much, but they're focused on like bringing the digital aspect, bringing, the blogs, the photos, everything that we do. Like we have a lot of people behind it. So it's really cool. And that's why you don't see it as much with martial arts schools.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen like one, that has like this kind of community all put together. So it's pretty dope.
Yeah, I believe it.
Matt, you want to touch on the SAM, bro? So Mike, we have I don't know if you know too much about like Still Active, but it started as like a clothing brand back in 2019. And we've kind of shaped it into more of just a brand, like a community, like a lifestyle, kind of supporting other individuals and businesses. Probably around like 2022 or 2021, we started doing these things called SAMs, which it's just an acronym for Still Active Monday Motivation or Mindful Monday, something like that. So every Monday we drop one of those. It's just kind of like a personalized quote that we've kind of came up with, and we elaborate on and leave it up to, interpretation for whoever may need it or want it. And it's kind of stuff that we kind of experience or just come up with like that week, that month, because we do it every week, but we're on week 109, 108. I think it was 108.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, essentially it's all shit that we've like gone through or are going through at that time. That we've realized and we feel like other people could maybe benefit from the ideology behind it. So this week's really is they're all simple but powerful, really. So this one is hesitation is the enemy. So a lot of people can misinterpret that and be like, well, you kind of got to like, hesitate a little bit and everything. But yeah, that doesn't mean you can't like take calculated risks. And, everything's got to be calculated if you're looking for a particular outcome. And I know I could speak for myself and probably a lot of other people watching this. You've hesitated maybe a little too long on certain things. Maybe you want to try something new, or you want to take something you're involved into a higher level, and you're kind of just waiting to pull the trigger. You know what I mean? So essentially, it's like, yeah, like make the calculations, make calculated risks, but don't wait too long, because you never know. I mean, any day you could lose it all. You could lose the ability to get involved in that particular thing. Like for instance, with your injury, and it kind of changed your course of, your initial plan that you had. So I guess Barton, is there anything else you want to touch on with that?
I just want to read pretty much the whole SAM. Do you want me to read it or do you want to read it?
You can read it.
Cool. So hesitation is the enemy. You won't know until an attempt is made. Don't let the fear of the unknown get in your way. Navigate with the intent to learn and excel. You never know the opportunities that can be exposed along the way. If you have an idea or want to try something new, just dive in and give yourself a real chance before writing it off. And I think that's kind of sick for this week's episode, because literally in the like the script of it kind of exposes like how you kind of got involved with coaching in Muay Thai. Like you just don't know what's going to be exposed from, things you're not expecting.
Yeah, dude, I love that. And, just to kind of like build off of it, when I got the opportunity to coach, like I was in graduate school, I was a full-time graduate student. I was TAing 20 hours a week. And then I also had a full-time job, like on this, like that I was already doing. So like I'm working like 2 full-time jobs almost and a part-time job. And I saw that opportunity that I've been looking for, like an opportunity to be a coach and to like be part of this. And I was just like, fuck yeah. Like, I don't care what it takes. Let me go for this. And it's put me on the path I'm on today. So it's kind of serendipitous that was the Sam for today, because like that really resonates with me. I love that, guys.
Hell yeah, bro.
Let's go. Dude, I gotta ask, is the hoodie you have on, is that like an American traditional design?
It is. It is.
It's fucking rad. Is that from Easton?
It is. Our last Easton Open, so the one before this one, this was our like shirt design. This sweatshirt, they just sent it to us because we had to get like a special type of printing done to get like this multicolor look. And so they sent us a sweatshirt to like show what it looks like on different materials. So this is like a one of one that people fucking love this sweatshirt.
Bro,
And
I was gonna
my favorite sweatshirt I have. And I fucking love this thing. But yeah, this design was done by our creative director, Van Tran, and she murders these things. She's so good with this stuff.
Oh, you guys got any other merch like that?
Dude, we have a ton of great merch. I don't know. I know this design's gone, but we're thinking about bringing it back in sweatshirts. Because like so many people see this sweatshirt and say, "Where the fuck did you get that? When are we selling that?" But yeah, like Matt copped a shirt at the last Open. That was Van. And we're always putting out merchandise. Like that's a huge thing. We look at it as like one of our verticals, and we have like a merchandising company that runs like in conjunction with Easton. So yeah, we're gonna have more dope stuff coming out.
Fuck yeah, Barton, get me one.
I got you, bro.
Mail it to me.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, you both got a ton of ink. Matt's covered up with pretty much all that American traditional.
I've been adding some traditional on my legs.
That's sick. How are I'm sure you guys got like a ton of fucking options out there as far as artists go.
Yeah. I can't really speak to it because I'm from Iowa. So it's like I only know what we had in Iowa, but it wasn't much. It wasn't much. And it seems like there's so many dope artists. I was here for like 2 years before I finally pulled the trigger on an artist because I just kept finding like new ones. Like, oh, that guy's fucking dope. That guy's fucking dope. So yeah, there's so many people to choose from that just do great art out here. It's amazing.
Love that. Rad.
Oh yeah, guys.
I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on, or any questions or anything like that?
I mean, I think we, covered a lot of good shit. I mean, I think there's a lot of great content from this episode. Mike, you said a lot of awesome shit that I'm excited to chop up the footage and, put out there.
Hell yeah, guys. Well, I appreciate the opportunity, man. This was fun.
Hell yeah. So we post them on Sundays. I'll have this one ready for next Sunday. Most likely it should be this Sunday. If not, it'll be the next, but should be this Sunday. And then we kind of do clips throughout the week. So like clips, reels on Instagram. So we'll tag you in those. And
happy to share everything.
Hell yeah, bro. I appreciate you coming on. It was a dope episode.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Kind of learning a lot more about, the process and everything and your journey. So.
Oh yeah, guys. Thank you both.
Yeah,
yeah,
thanks, man. Appreciate it.